Well, we'll start doing lessons here. One of the things that I'm going to be stressing is the idea of keeping track and trying to understand what goes on instead of simply learning that this is an A chord and this is a B chord. One of the things that I'm hoping to communicate is that it's about relationships. It's the relationships of these strings that produce chords. Chords are directly related to harmony. We like harmonious things. A nice major chord has a certain set of relationships between the notes that make it up. Minor chord will have a slightly different set of relationships, but they're fairly easy to understand. The relationships of chords to notes and notes to the fretboard or chords to the fretboard, which is where we're trying to get to. Again, I want to stress that you don't need to know very much about music theory at all. It's nice to know about keeping time and 3/4 time is a waltz. But again, there are no black and white frets or areas on the fretboard here. There are no good and bad notes. Every note is as important as the other note. What we call major chords are made up of notes that do have a very noticeable, good sounding relationship when you play them together. Let's look at the fretboard here, and there are certain things, if you know, will really help you and that you're almost going to have to memorize. We're going to tune these strings to certain notes. In open E, we're going to tune them to E, B, E, G sharp, B, and E. Now, if you play the guitar regular and you make an E chord, you can see that we've actually kind of taken the A string and wound it up 2 frets to make a B, E, B. And the D string is up 2 frets, D to E, we're making an E note without having to fret it. And the G only goes up 1, so it's a G sharp now. I'm choosing open E to use for these examples because the guitar normally tuned has an E string. It has a high and a low E string. They're 2 octaves apart. And if you learn the names of the notes that you make, when you push down on this E string, it will serve you well for the rest of your guitar playing career. The scale theoretically will start in C. Why it doesn't start in A, I don't know. Most things start A, B, C. I believe like a piano, high C is the center of everything. So the scale goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Once you hit the C, you're at an octave. Now, we're playing a guitar in open E. That's going to be called the root note, the root chord. This is an E note. So let's learn the names of these notes. B, E, F. We're going to skip a fret and go to the 3rd fret, which is G. Skip a fret and go to the 5th fret, which is A. Skip 1 fret and go to the 7th fret, which is B. Now we go right to the 8th fret as C. We're going to go to the 10th fret for D and up to the 12th fret, which is the octave for E again. The notes of the major scale, let's say the scale of C, D, E, F, and G, have these spaces. Like between E and F, there's no space. But between F and G, there's a space. And then between G and A, there's a space. But between B and C, there's no space again. It's interesting to go out on the internet and look at the evolution of music theory. It started with a guy named Pythagoras. And he actually was the pioneer who set this up, and they determined that these notes are the ones that sound good together. Da, 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 A, B, C, D, F, G. But they were smart enough to know that these gaps existed. And they'd already named the notes, basically, by that time. So they said, well, it's not an A. It's not a G, it's not an A, it's a G sharp because it's on the way to A. No, it's an A flat because it's back down going to G. This is the beginning of the confusion of contemporary music theory as it's evolved over a long time. You're simply going to have to deal with it and memorize the notes on this E string are E, F, the 3rd fret is G, the 5th fret is A, the 7th fret is B, the 8th fret is C, and the 10th fret is D. Now the 12th fret is E. The ones in between are sharps or flats. A D sharp is an E flat. A G sharp is an A flat. We don't have to do much more of this. There are only 11 notes in the entire scheme of things. When you hit the 12th note, it's an octave higher of the root note you started. So in reality, there are only, in the entire reality of music as we know it with a fretboard, there are only 11 notes, and they're octave increments up.